What's up, everybody? Welcome to DFS by the Numbers. These are my full card breakdown and predictions for UFC Vegas 32. We have Corey Sandhagen going against the return of TJ Dillashaw. Phenomenal main event and really a phenomenal card all around. I mean, this card is stacked from top to bottom. When you have fights on the prelims like Punahele Soriano going against Brendan Allen is on the prelims. Adrian Yanez, Randy Costa is on the prelims. Phenomenal fight. Hannah Goldie, Diana Belbita is on the prelims. That one was a joke. That fight's not great, but we'll talk about it, and we'll talk about all the other fights on the card. Feeling pretty good about this card from a betting perspective, hopefully keeping the momentum rolling off of a very good card last week. But before we get started, if you guys can leave a like on the video, also subscribe to the channel if you have not yet, so you do not miss out on all the content throughout the week. Me and Uncle Weezy did a main event deep dive that was posted on Monday. My DraftKings breakdown will be out soon, and then going live, as always, 7 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time on Friday, and then 1 hour prior to when the prelims start on Saturday. So with that said, I say we get into it, starting with the people's main event. We have Hannah Goldie going against Diana Belbita. And Hannah Goldie, she is 29 years old, 5'4", 61-inch reach, 5-1 and 4-1 in her last 5 fights. Diana Belbita, she is 25 years old, 5'7", 68.5-inch reach, 13-6 and 3-2 in her last 5 fights. So we'll take a look at the odds here. And very interesting line movement on this one. We had Hannah Goldie open up minus 185. She's now minus 130. And then Diana Belbita opening up plus 160. She is now plus 110. So kind of sensing a potential line flip here. And I honestly do agree with it. I mean, something you got to point out is going to be the 7.5-inch reach disadvantage for Hannah Goldie. When she did fight Miranda Granger, I believe Granger had a 68-inch reach, and it looked like Hannah Goldie really did struggle to get on the inside. And Belbita, she's not terrible. I know people are probably really down on her after her last fight, where all she really had to do was keep the fight standing against Luana Jojua, and she took Jojua down for some reason, giving Jojua her only path to victory, which was an armbar from guard. And that's typically how you beat Diana Belbita. She has 4 submission losses, 2 decision losses. I don't really think she's going to have to worry about the submission here. And honestly, she could probably mix in the takedowns as well in this fight. She has at least 1 takedown in both of her UFC fights against Jojua, against McCann. I think she can get some here as well. And on the feet, I think the reach advantage is going to be huge. Simple as that. I think she can win a decision. And, you know, watching tape on Belbita, she's not horrible. She comes forward. She throws very hard. She's mean, and I kind of like her. So I'll take Belbita as the dog here over Hannah Goldie, who I think is very undersized for the division. And a 61-inch reach going against a 68.5-inch reach. I think it's going to be hard for her to get on the inside, hard for her to land shots. And I think it's going to look something like the Miranda Granger shot, where Granger was able to kind of stick on the outside, use that reach, use that length, and win a decision here. So get me down at Belbita to win the fight by decision. All right. Next, we have CR Eubanks going against Elise Reed. We have Eubanks, who is 36 years old, 5'4", 67-inch reach, 6-6 and 2-3 in her last 5 fights. Elise Reed, 28 years old, 5'3", 61.5-inch reach, 4-0, and she doesn't even have 5 fights. So she's 4-0 in her last 4 fights. So I guess there's a bunch of things to note right off the bat. So Eubanks has been fighting at 135 the past few fights. She has fought at 125 before, but she's actually cutting down to 125 for this fight, and that really surprised me because she is somebody that does struggle to cut weight at 135. She's somebody that we'd be worried, you know, is she going to make weight for this fight at 135? So now she's cutting down to 125, which kind of worrisome, honestly, and she is 36 years old. So Elise Reed, she's actually coming up a weight class to 125. She has fought at 115. She's even fought at atomweight. I believe her MMA debut was at atomweight, and she had a lot of fights on when she was an amateur at atomweight as well. So you got to think Eubanks is going to be the much bigger fighter by a significant margin, cutting down from 135, struggling to make 135. I kind of want to see the weigh-ins because I have a really sneaky feeling, and I don't know if this is a hot take. It's probably not at all, but I think Eubanks, there's a good chance she does miss weight, and I hopefully I'm wrong. I guess one thing to point out is she was scheduled to fight Priscilla Ketchadub a couple months ago. That was going to be at 125, so I kind of think she was already, you know, transitioning down to the weight class. I checked her Instagram. She's looking very good, but again, it's I do want to see her make weight. There's a good chance she does not. So as far as the fight goes, though, Elise Reed, I think she's going to be undersized here. She's going to be at a 6.5-inch or a 5.5-inch reach disadvantage. And just watching tape on her, she can be taken down, you know, fairly easily. She can be controlled. I've seen her put in a ton of bad spots on the mat as well. Eubanks, decent striker. She hits very hard. Reed does look pretty hittable, but she's tough. She's tough. She has cardio, and she comes forward all fight. And that's, I guess, her best asset. She's the one to be tough, and she's going to be there for 15 minutes. In this fight, I feel like Eubanks has fought the much better level of competition by a mile. And just to kind of name some of the names that Eubanks has fought, Pani Kianzad, Caitlin Vieira, lost to both of them, but won over Julie Avila. Very good win there. A win over Sarah Moras, a win over Roxanne Modafferi, pretty good win there. And then a win over Lauren Murphy, who for some reason is fighting for a title soon. So she has some good wins. She has some good losses. She's lost to Aspen Ladd twice. She did have lost to Betch Correa. Not a good look there, but still, she's fought really good competition compared to Reed, who is coming in this fight somewhat short notice, coming up a weight class. I think Eubanks is the much more skilled fighter and by a very significant margin. And I do think Eubanks just takes her down, grinds her out, possibly finds a submission. Eubanks is a legit black belt. And that's kind of what I think happens. I think Eubanks does get this fight down to the mat, gets her out of there. I guess the worst case scenario is Eubanks gasses out sometime in that second round, but by then she should have secured at least 2 rounds with the takedowns, with the control time, and Reed possibly does win that 3rd round, but Reed's probably going to need to finish in that 3rd, and Eubanks has never been finished in her entire career. So I do like that. I like Eubanks quite a bit. Reed, she's okay. She's okay. She's very green. I think she needs a lot of work, and this is a huge step up in competition. Very huge step up in competition. I think Eubanks does get it done, and I'm going to say she gets it done by submission. All right, good fight here. Julio Arce going against Andre Yule. Arce is 31 years old, 5'7", 70.5-inch reach, 16-4 and 3-2 in his last 5 fights. Andre Yule, 33 years old, 5'8", 75-inch reach, 17-7 and 3-2 in his last 5 fights. So Andre Yule going to have a reach advantage like he does in the majority of his fights. And we have not seen Julio Arce fight in 1 year and 8 months against Hakeem Dawodu. So I do want to take a look at some of these stats here. So Julio Arce, he does land 4.25 significant strikes per minute with a 36% accuracy and does absorb only 2.87, which is very good, with a positive significant strike differential of 1.38. Fantastic numbers there. Andre Yule, pretty high volume himself, averaging 4.42 significant strikes per minute with a 41% accuracy, and he does absorb a lot, 4.25 significant strikes absorbed with a positive 0.17 significant strike differential. Arce has a 67% striking defense. As far as Yule goes, he has a 52. So taking a look at the grappling stats, and this is where I kind of think Yule does struggle. We have seen opponents take advantage of his takedown defense and his ground game, but I don't know if Arce is going to be able to do that here because it's not really something he's shown all that much in the past. But if he does try, I do think he'd have some success. He does average half a takedown per 15 minutes, 30% accuracy, and he does have a 93% takedown defense. As far as Andre Yule, averages about 0.29 takedowns per 15 minutes, a 66% accuracy, and a 77% takedown defense. So, yeah, as far as this fight goes, I think it's going to be very competitive. I think it's going to be very, very competitive for the first round, a round and a half, 2 rounds. It's just the thing with Andre Yule, he does slow down as the fight goes on. You take a look at his last loss against Chris Gutierrez, a split decision win over Erwin Rivera, which is definitely not a good look, but I really don't see how that was a split decision win over Jonathan Martinez. He did lose to Marlon Vera. He also lost to Nathaniel Wood. Not bad losses there. And he did win against Anderson dos Santos and Renan Barão. So, solid competition for Yule, but I think Arce has fought the better competition by a significant margin here. So he did lose to Hakeem Dawodu. He lost to Shaman Marias, but wins over Daniel Tamor, Julian Rosa, and one Dan Ige, who everybody's very, very high on, and I am as well. So I do think Arce has fought the better level of competition, and I think that the fact that he can push a pace for all 3 rounds is going to really benefit him here. Andre Yule, I think it will be, like I said, competitive in that first round and a half, 2 rounds. It's just, I can almost guarantee you that Arce probably does win that 3rd round. So I'm going to say Arce does win a pretty close decision in this fight. And we'll take a look at the odds here, and it doesn't really reflect a close fight here. We have Julio Arce opening up as a -180, currently -190. Andre Yule +155 opening up, and currently +165. So I think the line's a little bit off. I do think it's going to be semi-competitive, but I do think Arce does slowly take over as the fight goes on. By the way, I did not bring up the odds for Ciara Eubanks. She is a huge minus 340 favorite, which I believe is the biggest in the card, and Reed is plus 280. All right, so give me Arce by decision. All right, next we have the actual people's main event. This fight is phenomenal. It's an absolute joke that this is on the prelims. I mean, this should be on the main card, no doubt about it. This fight is awesome. This fight is awesome, but it just shows you how good the card actually is. So we have Adrian Yanez going against Randy Costa. We have Yanez, who is 27 years old, 5'7", 70.5-inch reach, 13-3, and 5-0 in his last 5 fights. Randy Costa, he is 27 years old, 5'9", 73-inch reach, 6-1, and 4-1 in his last 5 fights. So we'll take a look at the odds here. And we do have a lot of money coming in on Yanez, opening at minus 170, currently minus 220. Randy Costa opening up plus 145 and currently plus 185. So, yeah, lots of money coming in on the Yanez side, and I definitely see why. The guy's, very hyped fighter. People love this guy. He's very, very skilled. He has a ton of power, great volume, great output, great cardio, all the things you want to see. He's a BJJ black belt that he doesn't really use as much as I'd like, but you kind of take a look at Randy Costa's career. So he starts his MMA career in 2018. He knocks out an 0-4 guy, okay, in the first round, less than a minute. And then he knocks out an 0-0 guy, less than a minute. Then he knocks out a 5-9 guy in about a minute. Then he knocks out an 0-1 guy in less than a minute. And then he goes into the UFC against Brandon Davis. And in that fight, it was an absolute war for as long as it lasted. But we saw once that fight did get out of the first round, Costa slowed down tremendously. I mean, he was so tired because he puts 150% into every single shot he throws, and he tries to knock out his opponent. That's exactly what he did. Davis was able to survive, and Davis hurt him, and then he submitted a very tired, a very exhausted Costa. So I do think he probably has made some changes, since that fight. I think he has probably improved since that fight, but we really haven't seen it. We have not seen him go into the second round since then. Against Boston Salmon, knocked him out in a round. Against Journey Newsom, knocked him out in 41 seconds. So this is somebody that gets in and he gets out. Randy Costa's entire career, I believe, has lasted like 12 minutes, which is just insane to think about. Whereas Yanez, he has fought some really good competition outside of the UFC. His losses include against Miles Johns in a very close fight that I personally scored for Yanez, against Domingo Pilarte, who's in the UFC, and then against Levi Moles was his very first loss back in 2014. So losing to very good competition, and he is on a 5 or 6 fight win streak as well. And it comes down to this. I think Yanez is the better fighter, but sometimes it really doesn't matter. I think Costa's very live for an early finish. It's just if this does get out of the first round, if it does get extended, I think Yanez has more ways to win, more paths to victory. And something I looked for in the tape was to see if Yanez would really implement that offensive wrestling, use that BJJ black belt. But, I think I watched like every single fight I could on Yanez. I think I saw maybe one offensive takedown, maybe 0. I didn't see much at all. It looked like when he does get his submissions, it's off his back. He wants to strike. He wants to stand and bang, and that's what makes this fight awesome. They're going to want to stand and bang until one man falls. I'll pick Yanez to win this fight. I think if it does get extended, Costa probably does slow down, and Yanez is an absolute sniper. He hits like a truck. I'm going to say Yanez does knock him out in that second round, but don't get me wrong, Costa's very, very live early in this fight. But I guess something really important to note is, Yanez has never been knocked out. I think that's pretty huge. He's shown really good durability, whereas, Costa has been hurt. Costa has been finished before. So I'll take Yanez here. I'll take him to win by second round knockout. This fight is amazing. It's going to be fireworks. There's going to be a finish, and I think Yanez gets it done there. All right, Heinisch going against Nasruddin Imavov. Heinisch is 32 years old, 5'11", 72-inch reach, 14-4, and 2-3 in his last 5 fights. Nasruddin Imavov, 25 years old, 6'3", 75.5-inch reach, 9-3, and 4-1 in his last 5 fights. So we'll take a look at the odds here. We do have Heinisch opening up minus 115, and he is currently minus 152, and then Imavov opened at minus 105. He's currently plus 132. So lots of money coming in on the Heinisch side. And I guess the thing I want to point out first is just going to be the extreme difference in the level of competition. I mean, Heinisch is taking a a pretty massive step down in competition here, to say the least, going from Kelvin Gastelum, Omari Akhmedov, Derek Brunson, Gerald Mearshart, Antonio Carlos Jr., Cesar Ferreira. He's fought some really good guys in the UFC, and going down to Nasruddin Imavov, who did, really struggle against Phil Hawes. And in that Phil Hawes fight, I think he implemented a game plan that Heinisch can kind of replicate here. Hawes was able to hold Imavov against the cage for, long periods of time. Hawes had 11 minutes and 6 seconds of control time in that fight, and Hawes was able to mix in 4 takedowns as well. So I think Ian Heinisch can do the same thing. And, a stat that really stuck out to me for Ian Heinisch was going to be his 18% takedown accuracy. And at first, that really kind of scared me away from it, because I thought, hey, if he's not able to get a takedown in this fight, he could be in some trouble. It could be a very close fight. But you kind of take a look at the guys he's been facing. Against Kelvin Gastelum, he was, I think, 1 for 6 on takedowns. Against Derek Brunson, who, by the way, Derek Brunson has a 94% takedown defense. He was 0 for 8, no shame in that. Against Omari Akhmedov, he was 3 for 10. Again, no shame in that at all, whereas you see Imavov getting taken down by Phil Hawes 4 times. Really not a good look. I've seen him taken down on the regional scene as well. And, Imavov does have a very good get-up game. It's just, Ian Heinisch is relentless with his wrestling, and I do think he's going to put a pace on Imavov that he's not going to be able to keep up with. So I'm going to go with Heinisch here to win by decision. I think this is kind of a levels fight where, Heinisch has taken a pretty big step down in competition, and Imavov is probably taking a step up in competition here from guys like Jordan Williams, guys like Hawes. They're not terrible guys, but I do think it is a step up in competition there. So give me Ian Heinisch. Give me Ian Heinisch by decision. All right, another fight that probably should not be on the prelims. This fight is phenomenal. We have Punahele Soriano going against Brendan Allen. Soriano, 28 years old, 5'11", 74.5-inch reach, 8-0. Obviously 5-0 in his last 5 fights. Brendan Allen, 25 years old, 6'2", 75-inch reach, 16-4, and 4-1 in his last 5 fights. So we will take a look at the odds here. And pretty much a pick 'em. We have Brendan Allen opening up plus 185, now minus 108. And we have Soriano opening up minus 220 and currently minus 112. So lots of early money came in on the Allen side. And I get it. It kind of, on paper, it definitely does look like a close fight here. And I do want to touch on some of the stats for this fight as well. So we'll take a look at Soriano here. So Soriano, not the biggest sample size in the world. I want to say he has 3 fight sample here, including the Contender Series where he did go 15 minutes, which I did like to see, and then also 2 first-round knockouts. So take it as you will, but not the best sample size in the world for Soriano. But we have something here. So Soriano does land 4.46 significant strikes per minute, 43% accuracy, does absorb 2.86. significant strikes per minute with a 1.6 positive significant strike differential and a 52% striking defense. But that's not important. What's important is going to be more so the Brendan Allen striking numbers here. So he does land 3.35 significant strikes per minute with a 58% striking accuracy, but he does absorb 4.19 for a negative significant strike differential, which you never like to see, of negative 0.84 and a horrendous 39% striking defense. Allen, you see it in the tape, you see in the stats, the guy is very, very hittable. He relies on his chin, he relies on his toughness, but he's there to be hit. Do you want to be hit against Punahele Soriano? I think not. And then we take a look at the grappling stats, which are going to be really important in this fight. So Soriano does have a wrestling background. I believe he was a state champion in high school, also did wrestle in college, I believe D3. He has a brown belt in judo as well, so he's definitely credentialed. And you watch some of the tape on this guy, and he's a very good wrestler. He's a very good wrestler. I've seen him pick guys up. I've seen him walk them across the cage, take him to his corner and slam them down. Soriano's wrestling is absolutely legit. At least his offensive wrestling that I've seen. I haven't really seen many people shoot on him at all. At least in the UFC, 0 takedowns defended for Soriano. Nobody's attempted a takedown against him. On the regional scene, here and there he'd stuff a takedown, but that takedown defense has not been tested for the most part. I think that's why there is money coming in on Brendan Allen. But back to Soriano's wrestling, he does average 2.6 takedowns per 50 minutes with a 66% takedown accuracy. Also has a 100% takedown defense. In this fight, he's not going to want to go for takedowns. He's not going to want to go down to the mat with Brendan Allen. He's going to want to stuff the takedowns, keep it on the feet. So Brendan Allen Does average 1.73 takedowns per 15 minutes with a 50% accuracy and also a 50% takedown defense. Allen more than likely is going to want to get this down to the mat. But there are some very concerning things on the Allen side when you kind of look through his fight career. So in the Holland fight, he was able to get 2 takedowns. Kevin Holland, somebody that has a 47% takedown defense. In the Tom Breeze fight, he got 0 takedowns. Obviously, the fight ended very fast, but he was 0 for 1 on takedowns. In his next fight against Kyle Dawkins, 0 takedowns again. He did not even attempt a takedown. And then against Sean Strickland, which it was a surprise to a lot of people, including me, he did not attempt 1 takedown against Sean Strickland. I mean, it makes absolutely no sense that he would not attempt a takedown in that fight, and he got beat up and got knocked out. So Sean Strickland was actually going out there and getting takedowns in that fight. So there were 3 fights in a row, Breeze, Dawkins, and Strickland, where Allen attempted only 1 takedown and he got 0 of them. So that was very weird. And then he goes in his next fight against Karl Roberson. He gets 2 takedowns against Karl Roberson, who has a 45% takedown defense. So the 2 guys that he has taken down in the UFC is one, Karl Roberson, who is notorious for getting submitted. He has 5 submission losses, I think now, on his record, 45% takedown defense, and one, Kevin Holland, who has a 47% takedown defense, cannot stuff a takedown. Great grappler, black belt, so him submitting Holland was impressive, but taking him down, not so much. So there's a lot of narrative to this fight, and that's kind of what makes it so hard to call. But, you know, basically, if Soriano, I do believe he does stuff the takedowns. I do believe he keeps on the feet. And honestly, maybe Allen doesn't even shoot takedowns. He did it in the Strickland fight for some reason, and he doesn't really attempt enough takedowns for my liking, especially as far as, you know, picking Allen. So I do think it's going to play out on the feet, or at least a lot of the fight is. And at that point, you know, you kind of got to think Allen's kind of screwed. He has a 39% striking defense. You do not want to be hittable against a guy with so much power in Punahele Soriano, a guy that has 4 knockdowns in his last 2 fights. Knocked down Dusko. It felt like 5 times in that fight, but it was 2 actual times he knocked him down. Knocked down Oscar Pereira 2 times. The guy's power is absolutely legit, and I will pick Punahele Soriano to win. But again, I get why the line is somewhat close. Allen, he has a path to victory. The path to victory is getting it down to the mat, but I think it's going to be easier said than done. This is not a Karl Roberson who cannot stuff a takedown. This is not a Kevin Holland who cannot stuff a takedown. This is Punahele Soriano, who I think can stuff a takedown. He has that wrestling background. He's training at Extreme Couture. Very good camp there, so I'm assuming he can. But again, that is a question mark, so I do get why the line's where it's at. So I will take Soriano to win. I'll take him to win by first-round knockout. I think Allen gets hit. I think he gets hit really hard, and I think he does go down. So give me Soriano for the win. All right, next we have Jordan Williams going against Mickey Gall. We have Jordan Williams, who is 30 years old, 6'1", 76.5-inch reach, 9-4, and 3-2 in his last 5 fights. Mickey Gall, 29 years old, 6'2", 74-inch reach, 6-3, and 2-3 in his last 5 fights. So something very important to note, Jordan Williams, I forget who was talking about it, but he is a diabetic, so he did not want to cut weight, but now he is apparently cutting weight down to welterweight. So I do want to kind of see the weigh-ins for this, but he is going to be a pretty big welterweight. He was pretty big at 185, so you got to imagine he's going to have some serious size here. And, you know, Mickey Gall is... I do want to take a look at the odds here 1 second. So the odds for this fight, Jordan Williams opening up -150, currently -170. Mickey Gall opening up +130, currently +145. So some money is coming back on the Gall side, it looks like. I like Williams here. You know, watching tape on this guy, very good takedown defense, and I do have the stats for his takedown defense, and he has defended quite a bit thus far. So if I can find, yeah, Jordan Williams, 88% takedown defense, and I also watched some fights on the regional scene. He was able to defend a lot of takedowns there. He looks very strong, and I kind of like his game. I like his game. He has a ton of volume. He has a ton of power. He comes forward. Not the best striking defense in the world. It's sitting at 35%, which is not great, but I don't really think he's going to worry about that here all that much against Mickey Gall, who, don't get me wrong, is striking is improving, but I do think Williams is the better striker here. So yeah, Williams did knock out Gregory Rodriguez on the Contender Series. Very good win there. He was able to stuff 6 takedowns on the Contender Series as well, and he was able to stuff 7 takedowns against Nazar Imavov as well. I do think he does stuff takedowns for Mickey Gall here. He does not have the best wrestling by any means, only 26% takedown accuracy. I think Williams does keep it on the feet. I think his volume, his pace is going to be too much. Both guys are very hittable. Williams a 35% striking defense thus far in 3 or 4 fights. Mickey Gall 42% striking defense thus far. So that's not good, but I do think Williams is the better striker. I like his volume. I like his toughness. Great chin. Coming down to weight class, I expect him to be, pretty huge. If he does make the weight, I do want to see those weigh-ins, but I will go with Jordan Williams to stuff the takedowns, keep it on the feet, and maybe knock out Mickey Gall. Mickey Gall has been finished before by strikes, and I'm going to say that Jordan Williams does knock him out here once more. But yeah, should be a very good fight. I think this is going to be an absolute war, but I will side with Jordan Williams to win by knockout. All right, interesting fight here. Miranda Maverick going against Macy Barber. We have Maverick, who is 24 years old, 5'3", 65-inch reach, 9-2, and 5-0 in her last 5 fights. Macy Barber, 23 years old, 5'5", 65-inch reach, 8-2, and 3-2 in her last 5 fights. Macy Barber is on a 2-fight skid, losing to Roxanne Modafferi and Alexa Grasso. So I do want to take a look at the odds here, and some very interesting line movement, to say the least, because we see, or I see, a ton of love on the Miranda Maverick side. She opened up plus 180 for some reason. She went down to minus 180, and she's currently at minus 135. So lots of money coming in on the Barber side. Barber opened up minus 210 for some reason, immediately went to plus 145, and now she is down to plus 115. So again, some late money coming in on the Barber side, and I get it. This is somewhat a close fight. I think a lot of people are very down on Barber. She's lost 2 in a row, and I think people are very high on Maverick, including me, because she has been looking phenomenal as of late, but she's been looking phenomenal against Luana Jojua and Jillian Robertson. Not the best competition at all. This is going to be her toughest test to date against Macy Barber, who is decent. She hasn't been looking all that good as of late. Grasso's not a tough opponent whatsoever, but she actually did, in terms of the numbers, believe it or not, outland Grasso 40-38. She also was able to get 3 takedowns in that fight as well. But Grasso clearly did win that fight, in my opinion. So tough fight to call. The thing about Maverick is, you take a look at some of her fights on the regional scene. She does look green at times. Her striking does not look good at times, but we're seeing her make improvements after improvements after improvements, and massive ones as well. Each and every time we see Maverick back in the cage, she looks so much better. And I know, her striking's looking good against the Jojua, against the Robertson, but still, it's looking very good. And then this fight, I probably do favor Macy Barber in terms of the striking, but I don't think it's I think it's close. I think the striking's close. I slightly favor Barber, but I think Maverick, with the volume, with the pace, with the pressure, mixing in the takedowns, Maverick's going to have a pretty big grappling advantage. I think Maverick can definitely win this fight. So I'll go with Maverick. I think she's definitely on the way up. I think both fighters are. But Barber on a 2-fight losing streak, I think it does go to 3 here, and I'm going to go with Maverick, the fighter that's making phenomenal improvements each and every time. I mean, it's just amazing to look at. You go fight by fight watching tape, and she's getting better and better. Her striking's looking better and better, and I do expect to see the best Miranda Maverick ever, and I do think the striking's competitive. She mixes in those takedowns and wins a decision. So give me Maverick for the win. Take her to win by decision there. All right, Darren Elkins going against Derrick Minner. Very good fight here. We have Minner, who is 31 years old, 5'7", 71-inch reach, 26-11, and 4-1 in his last 5 fights. Darren Elkins, 37 years old, 5'10", 71-inch reach, 25-9, and 1-4 in his last 5 fights. I believe he's on a 4-fight skid. Double check. He was on a 4-fight skid, and then he did beat Eduardo Garagori. So some things that we do got to point out. The first one being Elkins is 37 years old at featherweight. Definitely not a good look. Another thing we got to point out, Elkins has taken a significant amount of damage, to say the least. So that's not good. Another thing we got to point out is Derrick Minner moved to Glory MMA and Fitness with James Krause's last fight. And I don't know what it is about James Krause, but he puts in these game plans for his fighters, and he's an absolute genius. And Minner went in there and with a good game plan, and he did something that I've never seen Minner do in his entire career, and that was not gas out after not being able to get an early finish. And that's what makes this fight so tough to call, because you have Elkins, who is 37 years old, who is more than on his way out, who has taken him a ton of damage in his fights, going against Minner, who typically in his career, he is first round sub or bust. And it's tough to gauge because, does Minner have cardio now? Or was it just based off the fact that Charles Rosa can be taken down? Charles Rosa is, content to lay on his back. Charles Rosa doesn't have the best get-up game. We saw Bryce Mitchell do it. We saw Derek Minner do it. Was it just because of the matchup? And there's a big difference between Charles Rosa and Elkins. Both guys have great BJJ. You probably got to favor, the BJJ of Charles Rosa, but Darren Elkins, his BJJ is very good. He's fought some really good grapplers, and I looked it up, and he has not lost by submission since 2010 against one Charles Oliveira. And it's just crazy to think about because you take a look at Elkins, he actually has fought some very good grapplers. He fought Ryan Hall, he fought Ricardo Lamas, he fought Dennis Bermudez, he fought Mashar Bektic, decent grappler, Chas Skelly. So he's actually fought some pretty good grapplers throughout his career and only has that one submission loss against Charles Oliveira. The thing is, and what makes this fight so tough to call is, was Minner's good cardio a one-off, or has James Krause really turned this guy around? Does he have cardio now? Because I'll tell you right now, Minner with good cardio is going to be very scary. This is somebody that's very dangerous. He hits very hard. Not many knockouts on his record, but a ton of submissions. I think this guy has 22 or 23 submissions on his record. But you take a look at his losses, and he's been finished 10 times. That's impressive. He's been finished 10 times, 8 by submission, 2 by knockout. And I kind of worry that, Minner's not going to be able to take down Elkins and control him like he did with Rosa, because Elkins and Rosa are two completely different fighters. If you take down Elkins, he's going to make you work. He's going to make you take him down again. He's going to stand back up. He's going to scramble. He's not going to be like Charles Rosa, who's just going to be content to lay on his back and throw up submissions that aren't going to work more than likely. But Elkins, he's going to make you work. He's going to get up. He's going to push a pace, and I don't know if Minner can keep that pace. Again, it's a tough fight to call. The cardio is a big question mark. Has his cardio been fixed? Was it a one-off? And it's a tough fight to call. This is the hardest fight to call on the card. I'm going to side with the dog. I'm going to side with the dog and Darren Elkins. I'm going to side with the guy that has taken a ton of damage, a 37-year-old featherweight. I'm going to say that Minner has a lot of success early, but I'm going to say that Elkins pushes a pace that Minner's not going to be able to keep up with. I'm going to say Minner does get a second or third round submission. Very unpopular pick more than likely this week, but I want to see more from Minner. I want to see Minner, have another performance where he does not gas out, because we've only really seen it once in his career. And I kind of think maybe it was some James Krause, some Glory MMA, but it was also some of, Charles Rosa not doing much at all. So I'll take Elkins as the dog pick, kind of a bold take here. But again, it's a very close fight. Would I be shocked if Minner went out there and submitted Elkins in the first round? Not really. But I do think Elkins is going to weather the storm and find a finish himself late. So give me Darren Elkins by second round finish. Could be a KO or sub, whichever. All right, next we have a very good fight. Kyler Phillips going against Raulian Paiva. Kyler Phillips, 26 years old, 5'8", 70.5-inch reach, 9-1. And 4-1 in his last 5 fights. Paiva, 25 years old, 5'8", 69.5-inch reach, 20-3, 3-2 in his last 5 fights. So some really important things to note is Paiva is going to be coming up a weight class. He's coming up from 125, and at 125 he was used to being the bigger fighter, used to probably having a reach advantage as well. But that will not be the case here at bantamweight, where Phillips is going to have a 1-inch reach advantage and have the same height here. So we'll take a look at the odds here, and we have Phillips opening up -150, currently -295, and Paiva opening up +130, currently +250. Yeah, interesting fight here. I'm very high on Kyler Phillips, especially after his last performance against Song Yadong, because looking through this guy's career, I wasn't really that impressed. He really hadn't fought really anybody that impressive. So I kind of had question marks with this guy. I was kind of doubting him. But to go out there and put on such a performance he did against Song Yadong and, win that fight pretty convincingly, it really, really did impress me. It really did show me that Kyler Phillips is probably the real deal. So he is 4-0 between the Contender Series and the UFC, 3-0 in the UFC. Wins over Cameron Else, not the best one in the world. Gabriel Silva, which I believe he took that fight on short notice. And then Song Yadong, which again is a very good win. But you have Paiva here, who is 2-2 in the UFC. So I did think he won. That Kaikar France fight. It was a very close fight, but he did lose that. He lost to Rogerio Bontorin with that stoppage due to the cut. And then he knocked out Mark De La Rosa, and then he lost to Zhalgas Magulov. It says he won, but I watched that fight back. Each time I do, I just don't see how they scored that fight for Paiva. And the judges' scorecards were 29-28 for all 3 judges. Yeah, I really thought it was 29-28 for Zhalgas there. Potentially a 30-27 for Zhalgas, to be honest. So he very well could be 1-3 in the UFC with his only win, coming against Mark De La Rosa. And in that De La Rosa fight, Mark De La Rosa actually outlanded him in that first round, 22-19, which is definitely not a good look. And I do want to take a look at some of the stats in this fight. Kind of, Paiva's striking numbers. So he does land 4.46, pretty high volume, 43% striking accuracy. But he does absorb 4.89, a ton. This guy gets hit a lot. With a negative significant strike differential, which you never like to see, and only a 51% striking defense, whereas Kyler has a positive 2.28 significant strike differential. As far as the grappling goes, Paiva does have a pretty good takedown defense, 80%, whereas Kyler Phillips, 71%. Kyler Phillips does average about 3 takedowns per 15 minutes, 63% accuracy. But, will he have, good takedown defense against, a bigger guy here in Phillips? And I don't really think so. I think Phillips will be able to mix in the takedowns here. Zhalgas Magulov was able to take down Paiva twice. Bontorin was able to take down Paiva twice. Kaikar France was able to take down Paiva twice. Nascimento was able to take down Paiva once. So he's been taken down in every single fight outside of the Mark De La Rosa fight, which Mark De La Rosa has a 13% takedown accuracy. So, yeah, I think Kyler is going to mix in takedowns here. Both guys BJJ black belts, but I think Kyler Phillips is going to be the bigger guy in this fight, going to be the natural 135er. Not really sure why, Paiva's moving up a weight class here. I believe this fight's on somewhat short notice. Maybe that's why. But he had struggled to make 125. I believe he's missed weight his last fight as well. But, yeah, I like Phillips here. I think the striking will be, pretty competitive, but seeing how hittable Paiva is, not having the best striking defense, I think Phillips can, win the exchanges on the feet. I think he can take him down, get control time. I don't think he's going to finish Paiva, but I do think he can win a pretty convincing decision. I think it's a step down in competition, to be honest. I think this is a step down in competition from Song Yadong, and I think Song Yadong would absolutely destroy Halling Paiva as well. So take that as you will. Give me Phillips. I like Phillips quite a bit, and I'm going to take him to win by a very convincing decision. All right, co-main event. Co-main event, we have Aspen Ladd going against Macy Chiasson. We have Ladd, who is 26 years old, 5'6", 66-inch reach, 9-1, and 4-1 in her last 5 fights. Macy Chiasson, she is 29 years old, 5'11", 72-inch reach, 7-1, and 4-1 in her last 5 fights. So we'll take a look at the odds here, and we have Aspen Ladd opening up -200, currently -179, and Macy Chiasson opening up +170 and currently +154. So some things I do want to point out right off the bat is Chiasson's going to be the much bigger fighter. She's going to have a 5-inch height advantage, and she's going to have a 6-inch reach advantage as well. And also, Aspen Ladd is coming off of a pretty significant layoff. She has not fought in 1 year and 7 months. She has not fought in a while. This is weird. 1 year, 7 months. So she's not fought in 2 years. I don't know why they put that fight over that. Okay, anyway, she hasn't fought in a while. She's fought, 2 years ago. Coming off of, I believe, ACL and MCL surgeries or injuries. So very, very serious injuries there. So I guess that's very important to note. But I do want to get into the stats for this fight. So Aspen Ladd does land 5.22 significant strikes per minute with the 55% striking accuracy. She does absorb 4.84 significant strikes per minute with a positive significant strike differential of 0.38 and a 46% striking defense. Not the best striking numbers in the world, but she does throw a ton of volume. Macy Chiasson does average 4.16 significant strikes per minute, 49% accuracy. She does absorb 2.17 significant strikes per minute with a positive 1.99 significant strike differential and a 46% striking defense. So we'll take a look at the grappling stats. This is where I think the fight is going to play out quite a bit. Aspen Ladd does average 2.5 takedowns per 15 minutes with a 75% takedown accuracy and a 66% takedown defense herself. Macy Chiasson does average a takedown per 15 minutes, 21% takedown accuracy, and she also has a 64% takedown defense. So some things I do want to point out is, Chiasson definitely can be taken down. She was taken down by one Sarah Moras, not a good look. She was taken down by Lena Landsberg twice, not a good look. And in that fight, Landsberg was able to get her down, and not only get her down, but she was able to hold her down as well. She held Chiasson down for quite a bit time. I think she had she had 7 minutes and 45 seconds of control time against Chiasson in that fight. And even Marion Renault, 44-year-old Marion Renault, took a round off of Macy Chiasson, and Marion Renault was able to take down Chiasson and control her for 2 minutes and 15 seconds. So I'm really not sold on the takedown defense of Chiasson. I'm really not sold on the get-up game of Chiasson as well. And of course, we're going to see her make improvements, but I think this is a pretty solid spot for Aspen Ladd outside of the layoff, outside of the injuries. But I think Ladd can mix in the takedowns here. She has very good ground and pound, very good top control, very good ground game in general. And I think the takedowns and the wrestling are going to be too much for Chiasson here. And I think Ladd can win minutes of this fight on top. The striking, going to be very close. I probably favor Chiasson in the striking, but I just think the fight's going to be won and lost on the mat. I think the fight's going to be won with Aspen Ladd on top, getting those takedowns, getting that ground and pound. Don't know if she finishes Chiasson, but I'm going to say Ladd does win a decision here. So give me Aspen Ladd to win by decision. And finally, the main event, Corey Sandhagen going against TJ Dillashaw. Before we get into it, do want to point out, again, going live Friday, 7 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time, and live 1 hour prior to the prelims starting on Saturday. We'll talk about the weigh-ins and all that. I do think the weigh-ins are going to be important for a couple of these fights. I want to see Eubanks on the scales. I want to see Jordan Williams on the scale. I want to see everybody on the scales, but mostly, guys like that. Guys and girls like that. So we'll get to the main event here, and me and Uncle Weezy did do a main event deep dive where we went about 30 minutes, went very deep into the matchup. I'll kind of give a condensed breakdown here and get into the stats a little bit as well. So, Corey Sandhagen, 29 years old, 5'11", 70-inch reach, 14-2 and 4-1 in his last 5 fights. TJ Dillashaw, 36 years old, 5'6", 68-inch reach, 16-4 and 4-1 in his last 5 fights. We'll take a look at the odds here. Sandhagen opening up -170, currently -175. Dillashaw opening up +145, currently +150. So some very important things to point out here. Sandhagen's going to have a pretty big size advantage, 5 inches in height, and he's also going to have 2 inches in reach as well. And Dillashaw has not fought in 2 years and 5 months, so about 2.5 years, and he is coming off of a PED suspension, which is not a good look, and he is 35 years old at bantamweight. Again, it's not a great look going against a much younger guy. Corey Sandhagen, who is definitely in his prime. He's been looking phenomenal in his last couple fights, getting knockouts, back-to-back knockouts. But this will be one of, if not, the toughest test of his career. So we'll take a look at Sandhagen here. Does average 6.85 significant strikes per minute. I mean, that's a ton of volume. This guy throws a ton of volume. 48% accuracy, does absorb 3.89 with a positive 2.96 significant strike differential, which is, off the charts with a 59% striking defense. As far as TJ Dillashaw, very impressive striking numbers himself. Does land 5.37 significant strikes per minute with a 41% accuracy. Does absorb 3.03 significant strikes per minute with a 2.34 positive significant strike differential and a 65% striking defense. So both guys, very, very high-level strikers, very dominant in their striking. Corey Sandhagen does average a takedown per 50 minutes with a 50% accuracy, and this is huge. He does have a 30% takedown defense. And TJ Dillashaw does average about a takedown and a half per 15 minutes, 37% takedown accuracy, 86% takedown defense. Yeah, Corey Sandhagen, terrible takedown defense. I mean, if you want to get this guy down, you can. It's just when you do get him down, he's very good at getting back up. His get-up game is very good. He threatens with submissions as well, to reverse, to sweep, to stand up. So although his takedown defense sucks, he does a very good job at being able to get back to his feet. So I don't really think he should be working on it. I'm sure he is, but I don't really think he's all that worried about getting taken down because he knows he can get right back up. And I kind of think that is somewhat of a path to victory for Dillashaw if he does choose to go to his wrestling. which he very well could, and he very well probably should in this fight. He probably does want to exploit that 30% takedown defense of Sandhagen. Just mixing the takedowns here or there, probably won't have much success with it, but it's not going to hurt to try whatsoever. It's just, you know, the question marks of TJ Dillashaw are kind of pushing me away from him. This guy, we have not seen him in 2.5 years. He is 35 and almost a half years old. PED suspension. I'm not sure how he's going to look. And then we have a guy like Sandhagen who has been much more active. He's been looking phenomenal. He's going to have a height advantage, a reach advantage, the younger guy. I think this fight's going to be competitive. I think this fight is definitely going to be competitive, at least more competitive than the line does indicate. And I think Dillashaw's live in a way. It's really hard to pick him coming off of that big layoff, going against the momentum of Sandhagen. I think the striking is going to be very competitive, very close. But the 35-year-old bantamweight thing is kind of pushing me off of Dillashaw here. And Sandhagen has been on an absolute tear. He's been looking phenomenal. He's in his prime, and I just don't know what TJ Dillashaw we're going to get. If I knew for sure we'd get the TJ Dillashaw of 2017, 2018, probably would pick him here. It's just we don't know. We don't know what he's going to look like. We don't know how that layoff's going to affect him. You know, all that good stuff. I'll take Sandhagen to win. I'll take him to win by decision. Very intriguing fight. If you do want to hear me go more in detail with it, like I said, me and Uncle Weezy did do a main event deep dive, but just to sum it up, can't pick Dillashaw here. I can't do it. I mean, it's a close fight. I think it will be competitive, but with the question marks, the age, the layoff, PED suspension, I'm going to go with the more active fighter, the fighter that's been looking phenomenal in Corey Sandhagen. So that's about it, guys. Thank you so much for watching. If you guys can leave a like on your way out, to be much, much appreciated. Tune into the live stream, 7 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time on Friday, 1 hour prior to the prelims on Saturday. And if you do want to support me more, you can sign up on the Patreon. The link is in the description below. $10 a month or $2.50 per week. Very good deal there. With that, you get early access to my bets. You get the fight model with all the stats, the advanced stats, courtesy of Uncle Weezy. He also does a matchup template as well. My betting breakdown videos, my betting article, Hail Mary Parlay, which we just hit last week, which was cool. But yeah, I have 4 bets so far, looking to add 1 or 2 more. Kind of a light-ish week for me in terms of the bets, but I have 2 pretty big plays. So looking to hopefully have a good week, keep the momentum rolling from last week as well, and hopefully make some money. So good luck, guys, with your bets this week. I will talk to you soon. You can follow me on Twitter, DFS_numbers. Instagram is DFS by the numbers. I'll be posting my bets there on Saturday for free, as always. And yeah, I guess I'll talk to you guys soon, and good luck for UFC Vegas 32. See you.